The relationship between the United States and China is complex. It is a story spanning over a century, marked by periods of cooperation and conflict. In the early 20th century, the US supported China's open door policy, aiming to prevent the division of China by colonial powers. The relationship shifted during the Cold War, with both nations finding themselves on opposing sides. However, the latter half of the 20th century saw a thaw in relations, driven by shared economic interests. This period of relative peace facilitated China's economic rise, transforming it into a global power. The 21st century brought new challenges. China's growing economic and military might began to challenge the established global order led by the US. Tensions escalated over trade, territorial disputes in the South China Sea, and technological competition. Despite these tensions, both countries acknowledged the importance of the relationship. They are deeply interconnected through trade, investment, and global issues like climate change. However, navigating this complex relationship requires careful diplomacy and a deep understanding of each other's core interests. The US-China trade war, initiated in 2023, brought the two superpowers into direct economic conflict. The US, under then-President Harris, imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, citing concerns over unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. China retaliated with tariffs of its own, targeting key US exports like soybeans and automobiles. The trade war had a significant impact on the global economy. It disrupted supply chains, increased prices for consumers, and created uncertainty for businesses. In a surprising turn of events, a 90-day trade truce was agreed upon on May 12, 2025. This truce, brokered by US Trade Representative Jameson Greer and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, resulted in a reduction of tariffs on both sides. The US agreed to lower tariffs from 145% to 30% on Chinese goods, while China reciprocated by reducing tariffs from 125% to 10% on US goods. This development brought a sigh of relief to global markets, with stock markets rallying and the dollar strengthening. However, the truce is temporary. Core issues remain unresolved, including the US trade deficit, fentanyl production in China, and concerns about Chinese trade practices. A war between the US and China would extend far beyond the battlefield. Diplomatically, it would have profound and long-lasting consequences. The conflict would likely draw in allies on both sides, leading to a fractured global order. Countries would be forced to choose sides, potentially leading to new alliances and rivalries. International organizations like the United Nations would face immense pressure and could become ineffective in mediating the conflict. The conflict would also erode trust and cooperation on critical global issues. Climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation require international collaboration. A war between the US and China would severely hinder progress on these fronts. Furthermore, the intense rivalry would fuel propaganda and misinformation campaigns, further dividing the international community. The diplomatic fallout from a US-China war would reshape the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. The economic repercussions of a war between the US and China would be catastrophic. The global economy is intricately intertwined with both nations. China is the world's second-largest economy and a major trading partner for almost every country. The US, as the world's largest economy, plays a crucial role in global finance and trade. A war would lead to a complete breakdown of trade relations between the two countries. Supply chains, already strained by the trade war, would collapse entirely. This disruption would cause massive shortages of essential goods, leading to skyrocketing prices and potential economic depression. Global financial markets would plunge into chaos. The value of the dollar and the yuan would plummet, creating instability and uncertainty. Investors would flee to safe havens, further exacerbating the economic crisis. The impact would be felt far beyond the borders of the US and China, affecting businesses, consumers, and economies worldwide. The fallout from such a conflict would be a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the global economy and the high stakes involved in US-China relations.